here we are in 2024, and there's a lot of people very concerned. But I can promise you there's a couple things you can do that'll make you a lot less concerned. Now, before we get into that, I do want to thank Victory CDJR for not just sponsoring this channel, but being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ by feeding the hungry with food pantries, feeding the hungry with warm meals, taking care of the orphans by building orphanages all over this world, by taking care of the battered women. They are being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. They're not just a car dealership. So what I'll say is I'm going to put their link below. Check them out if you want to buy a car. I highly recommend it. You know, because they have a food pantry in my hometown, Kansas City, Missouri. They probably have ministries in your hometown, so I'm going to recommend you check out their Giving Hope link in their website. It'll show you what they're involved in, where it's at. And if they're involved in ministry around you, I recommend you buy a car from them and not just some guy that's going to line his pockets with the cash. So that link is below. There's a lot of people who are very afraid about the future. A lot of people concerned about the election. A lot of people concerned about what's going on in Israel. A lot of people concerned about Russia and China. If this president wins, then we're in trouble. If that president wins, we're in trouble. There's a lot of fear. So I want to take a moment and speak to everyone, whether you are a liberal or a conservative or an independent or an unaffiliated, that there's three things you definitely need that'll, I promise you, will make you go, oh, I feel so much better. Number one, you need a gun. You do. You know, I remember when I bought my first gun, I felt so safe. I felt like, you know, it was like the ultimate equalizer. I was a young married man, very young. I couldn't even buy beer yet, you know, that's how young I was. And I went and bought a shotgun at Mossberg, and I brought it home to our trailer. And I felt darn safe in that little trailer. Darn safe, you know, and always have. I remember in 1999, I was in college, and there was this whole Y2K thing, you know, just big giant fear thing going on. And, you know, was electricity gonna shut out? Life as we know it is over because the computers did us in, kind of thing. You know, it sounds silly now, but it was a thing, you know. And I remember going to the pawn shop by my college and bought an SKS. And I felt really safe. I felt very, very safe. Felt very secure. Time at my house in the city, in Kansas City. And felt fine to protect my family with it. You know, it really does bring a sense of security. And it's funny because, not funny as in haha, but peculiar funny is that, especially anti-gun people, you know, here's what I'd say. You live in a country where there's more guns than people. Like, it's too late. You can't get rid of guns. It's an impossibility. The only thing you can do is protect yourself. And I promise you, if you kind of take that little step and you kind of go, well, you know what? I've always been against guns, but I sure feel like I need one. And you go get one. I vow that when you get home, you're gonna think to yourself, I feel really safe all of a sudden. You know, with home invasions the way they are, carjackings the way they are, I mean, it's just, people are so bold. People just go up and kill somebody on the streets in front of everybody, and everybody just start filming it. It's really pretty terrible. Now, I also can say that there were millions and millions of people in the last 2 or 3 years who bought a secret gun. You know, I did a video on this. I don't recall the numbers because I'm out in the woods here, but ultimately what they discovered was that millions of people were buying guns in secrecy. You know what? That's okay. If you're anti-gun, you have to go tell people you bought a gun. You know, you can still hold face and all that. But I promise you're gonna feel better. Promise you'll feel better. It's kind of like, you know, whenever there's a big storm, everybody goes by milk and bread. You know, somehow milk and bread makes you feel better. And it's an unrealistic feeling. Like, that didn't make me, you know, even it made me feel better. It's, what is it going to do? The gun makes you feel better in a similar way, but it can actually do something to help save your life and those of the lives of your loved ones and your neighbors. That's what it can do. So I recommend, you want to feel better, go get a gun. Makes me feel better. I bet it makes you feel better too. You know, and the other thing I'm going to say is that if you understood prophecy and the Word of God, you'd look around and you'd say, you know, well, this is supposed to be happening, you know. This is all part of God's plan. You know, it's supposed to be happening. He's allowing wickedness to do its thing so he can do his thing. And that's how God does it. He uses good for his purpose, and he uses evil for his purpose. He doesn't commit evil. He just, when evil people do evil things, somehow they advance the kingdom of heaven still. For example, you know, killing Jesus was a very satanic thing. Yet, by doing it, it redeemed all of mankind. You know, it's important if you can kind of grab your hold of this idea that God's in charge, he's got it. It's going to happen the way he wants it, whether I like it or not. You know, he's ordained things to happen. And we can read about those things in Revelation. If you want to know more, I did a whole series on it, verse by verse, 200 plus episodes. Put the link right here. But beyond that, you know, he's also a great comforter, you know. There's a verse in Job where, you know, God's talking. He says, who tells the ocean, here, your proud waves will stop? You know, and it's God that does that. And I just believe that the whole world can be on fire. And he could just stop that fire right at your front door. You know, he is in charge of all of it, not some of it, all of it. So there you go, man. I recommend you get a gun, and I recommend you just kind of grab a hold of the idea God's in charge and just try to hold on for the ride. Any thoughts or insight, definitely put that below. I do want to take a moment, say feel called to be a patron of this channel. That link is also below. You know, by being a patron, what it does is it frees us from worrying about YouTube stuff, where we can make content, not worry about what YouTube thinks. So that link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, and never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. As always, love God, love your family, love guns.